Hi, my name is Charlotte Habiger, and I am a connector. I help you find the people, the resources, and the experience to achieve your life projects. Today, I'd like to have a discussion with you about change agents and what I'm going to call social change, which is not the best word. If you know a better word, please help me out. I'm not talking only about social change. It's just the easiest way to put what I want to share today. I would like to talk about change agents. Maybe you feel like you are one or you know one. Change agents are people who they favor or they accelerate change. It can be in a household, a company, an organization, all over the planet, in their own life. People can be a change agent, like generally speaking, or they can be it for a time of their lives. So I'd love to know if you relate to what I call change agents. Change agents are not my expertise in itself. I usually talk more about networking, social marketing, and human connections. Though I really wanted to bring this for a reason. So when I worked in a lab, because I'm a research scientist by training, and I worked in research labs in Europe and in Canada, there was this concept, I believe that it still exists, of protecting ideas, protecting research data, protecting concepts, results of research and all that. And generally speaking, in research in the fields I worked in, we keep it for ourselves. We keep it to ourselves. We keep it hidden. We don't post online until the conference or publication is out about that specific topic with our name on it as a research scientist. So I understand that people would submit to that way of functioning when it's so general, because if you do not, of course, there could be results. You could lose your job, you could lose your research, your lab, etc. However, I did work for a while also at the end of my PhD in a bioinformatics lab where we did 3D programming of molecules, and we used almost only open source. In my memory, anyway, I was there for about a year, and we used a lot of open source. So open source, and I'm not an expert again, but in our programming tools and everything, we use a lot of open source, which means that people have access to the codes and they can also change them sometimes. Of course, there's different levels of freeware and open source and all that. So I'm not an expert. If you are, you can correct me, add details. But I discovered the idea that you can actually protect a concept in its essence, or in its originality, or in its intentional, and the intention, the purpose it had in the beginning, in a way that's different from hiding it, and much less stressful and complicated, because hiding an idea is so hard. And then you have to hide your research idea for years, when having it out in the open could help it move forward, right? It's just like mind-boggling to me as a connector, to hide stuff so that people don't know about it, so that you can help the best way possible by revealing it when it's the right time, so that your name's associated with it. Anyway, so in our bioinformatics lab, I discovered from that you can actually share an idea with open source, for example, in a way that keeps the original intent, the original purpose, that keeps it functional, and that is helpful to a great number of people. And that is to share it widely, associated with the original person who created it, or the original idea, reason for its existence. So I discovered that in that situation. And then I did some research. And in this case, I'm saying research, I did some reading about it. And in the field of education, this has been going on for decades. People use the concept of protecting an idea in the sense of keeping it closest to its original essence and meaning by diffusing it and sharing it widely. That is something that's used in education. It's been used in education. There's research about it. There's publications about it. It's called collaborative learning. It's part of collaborative learning, because it goes further than that. And discovering that, to me, there's a big link with networking, social marketing, and human connections, which are my field of interest. Is that in networking, particularly in business, that's what we do. That's what we do in a networking meeting, whether it's virtually or in person. We share ideas before they're completely finished, before we plan them all the way through and around and everything. And then we can confront them to other people's opinions, thoughts, and ideas about them and perfect them, and also have others benefit from them. So we don't lose anything. The ideas get out there faster, and they're more aligned with reality, with the way they're going to be used, because they're, tested on people in our networks. That's what I believe a network is. A network is people who connect with other people, and that way ideas can go very fast, concepts can go very fast, and you can quickly find out if they were founded or not, if they were based in reality, if they're helpful, and networking to me is an accelerator to birth new ideas and concepts and to move things forward for the betterment of everyone and everything in everybody's lives. That's what networking is for me. So I found this article by George, what is George's name? Since it's not my topic of expertise, I want to say, I'm more really into networking and human connections and social marketing. Change agents are not a field that I have studied as much. So I looked for an article that referred to the characteristics of change agents that resemble the most what I have seen or experienced myself. So George Couros talks about this. He has somewhat of a similar view because he talks about exploring the connection between innovation and relationships. So one of the things I'll talk about in a little bit is what I talk about networks is that in human life, people to me are almost as important as the connections between them. And we don't look at that. We act as if humans are individual and separate. And I want to say fortunately or unfortunately, they're not. It just doesn't work that way. We don't function individually. And like molecules that we studied in the labs, we all study molecules separately in the labs at the moment on the planet because we don't have a lot of experience or knowledge about interactions between them. It's something that's only been people starting to work on interactions between two molecules, but in our bodies, we have hundreds of them interacting all the time, and we never study that unless things have evolved in the lab since I left. So to work on human connections outside of the lab. Anyway, 5 characteristics of a change agent. I'm going to share the article. It's by George Couros, and it just reflects the best to me of all that I've read about change agents. What I wanted to share with you. Of course, these are not set in stone rules. I'm not bringing a final conclusion about change agents. If you have anything else you want to add, it's just a start to our conversation about this that I want to have with you. So 5 characteristics of change agents. The first one is a clear vision. I wanted to say a strong vision, but usually it is strong on its own, but a clear vision. A change agent will often have a vision of what things should be or could be. And that is so clear and so obvious that it can be extremely irritating to others. And it can also be irritating to the person with the vision that not everybody has that one. It's a clear vision of what the change would look like. Second characteristic is patient, yes, yet persistent. And I want to kind of say patience is kind of more like, how can I say, sitting through it all, because it's not, I don't know of a lot of change agents who are actually patient. That's their strong quality. It's that patient or not patient, the change is not happening right away. So just making it through all the obstacles, the objections, the resistance, the doubts, the life that happens also in the meanwhile, while you're hoping for change. That is what maybe George is talking about as far as patience, though I think it's more like enduring through it all. Yet persistent, yes, persistent may be a kind and gentle way of putting the way change agents can be tenacious about, the change that they want to see happen. So the third characteristic of a change agent, according to George Couros, is they ask tough questions. This is something I learned with my communications coach, Lynn Marie Germain, is the ability that we can all learn to it's something that can be learned, is to ask the tough questions, the questions that confront, the questions that in themselves, just asking the question, you can spiral into maybe not change right away, but some kind of, I want to say chaos, but in a more positive way. Like, a question opens up possibilities. It can also confront fears and people's own experience of what things are, what they should be, what they could be. So asking tough questions in itself can be the start of change, at least in mindsets, at least in a state of mind too. Like, it can't really be closed anymore once the question has been heard. So it opens up, and it can cause or be at the source of reactions, rejection, objections, resistance of all kinds, which are, I guess, human reactions to questioning. I think it's one of the safest ways, though, in a way, to bring out change. Ask a question and do not hesitate. If you have a question that comes up, there's a video that talks really well about that. I mean, I'm not talking about just asking a question to be a troublemaker. Troublemaker and change agent is not the same thing. Although change agents can be troublemakers too, and troublemakers can be change agents. Though here we're talking about asking tough questions are the ones that really come from that vision and that persistence and that patience, which is the enduring through it all. Yes, but still, or yet, what is happening here? So 4, the characteristic of a change agent is knowledgeable and leads by example. So I believe, I don't know what George Cross meant by knowledgeable, but what I mean by that would be that having a vision and maybe an inspiration, a strong conviction, doesn't mean you know everything about the subject or the topic. And I don't think people have to know everything about a topic or a subject to make a change, though I think it can be helpful to have a connection to relate to someone who's experienced the situation you want to see changed, or to listen to maybe someone who's studied it for a long time. Your vision may evolve some by being in touch with the person, the people that are like deep into the topic that you're trying to see change. And leading by example, I've always felt that I am the strongest limiting factor in any change or in any help that I can bring to a situation. If I haven't confronted a question, or if with the situation the other person's experiencing, or a friend is going through something and I just can't deal with it, I mean, that's the limit to how much I can help. So I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just where I'm at is where I'm at in everything. I have that strong belief in any case that where I'm limited in one aspect of my life is also where the limit is in all the other aspects of my life. So if I want to contribute to change, but I am not where I need to be to actually make that change myself, then I will not be a very effective change agent. I'd love to hear your thoughts about all this, because these are not like set in the stone rules or anything. 5th characteristic of change agents are strong relationships built on trust. And this is the part that I really wanted to get to when I talk about human connections, networking, and social marketing. You think it has nothing to do with business, all of this, right? Though, isn't that like the best place, like business networking, or networking where organizations work together, or people who get together to work on projects? Isn't that the best way to share ideas widely associated with the original person or intent? Factors for change. I strongly believe in networking for change. So one of the things I've read recently, and that really is getting to me as a scientist, is, are we human because of who we are individually, or does human include the connections between us? What does it mean to be human? I'm not going into that today. Maybe that'd be the right time, because there's a lot of debate about that right now. But as in something I brought up a little bit earlier in my French presentation of this, I'll do the same with you, is we talk about things and people as being what we see. So if I ask you, what do you see? Well, most of us myself included, will say I see two, sets of chopsticks, right? Aren't they cute? Pretty, come from China, from my family who lives there. And then I had this thing, well, is there one or two? Really, is there? How many are there? And what about everything else that's right in front of me? Because there's molecules and atoms and a couple other things in this, but also in between. There's a whole bunch. Like if I had a electro measurer, there's a whole bunch of stuff happening all over here in front of me, and we don't see it because my eyes are, I have, like, it's a macro structure, right? I don't see what's right in front of me, except if it's a chopstick. And so what is reality? Is it the two chopsticks or what's between them? And so it's a bit the same with humans. When I talk about networking, to me, the network is actually really important. The network is the strong foundation of relationships that are building, growing. There's trust. You need that if you're going to face change within yourself, around you, and if you're going to face all the objections, the resistance, everything that can come up. You need some people that are going to believe in you and help you believe in yourself too. That's, to me, the strength and the power of networking. Is it can take you through anything, everything and anything. It can take you through that. And your network, I'm not talking about the business card exchange kind of network. If you want to know what I mean about networking, it's an interaction between humans, and it helps to grow, develop, and move forward our projects, businesses, and organizations. And one of my dreams is to see organizations, charities, etc., work more with businesses or like businesses, and people who carry projects as well. Behind all of that are people, and usually people serving people. Even organizations that help, for example, animals, other living creatures, it's going to be humans who are going to take the actions to help the animals. So we're talking about humans in all these situations. And it would be powerful for there to be more networking between organizations of all kinds, charities, causes, businesses, local, international, virtual, and people who carry projects, sometimes who do not have a business or an organization or a charity, but they have the ideas, they have the concepts, they have the will to work on it. And so by networking, we can create a network much more powerful than the internet, or it can go through the internet. And through that, quickly, ideas can be diffused, shared, associated with the original person, intent, etc., and stay very effective and accomplish their purpose. So that's what I wanted to share today, was about change agents. I'd love to know what you think about that. And if you have any other things for me to read about that or share about that. And I'd love to know your topics too. If there's anything else you'd love for me to talk about, share about, having to do with networking, human connections, and social marketing, I'd be happy to hear. So take care, and I'll see you next time.